we'll select this 19,000 which we made with FDAS 53, and now we'll be selecting this 15,000. This was the 15,000 advance payment which has been converted to a normal item. So we'll select this, and once I selected this minus figure, you can see $54,000 is in negative, and this 19 plus 15 plus 20 is in positive. So again the value becomes 0, and that is what has to be there. It should always get 0 over here. That you need to take care of. So moving on to the next, once you have selected and you knew that against this invoice these 3 different payment has to be selected, now you can move to document and you can simulate your document for clearing activity. So simulating this document over here, you can see now the document preview is there for you, and for this now you can go and you can save the document or post the document from the button over there on the post button, and the document will get cleared. A document number is generated because even for clearing the pending transactions as clearing transaction, the system pass an adjustment journal entry at the background. So it is why for that even a document is generated. That is what this is all about. Now we can go to the vendor ledger account and we can see how this will be reflected. So whenever you execute any transactions related to the vendor, and after that you want to check the report, you need to run the report again. So you can go back and you can execute this report once again, and you will see the changes. So you can have a look that when we cleared the line item with FDAS 53 in the previous transaction, what happened is all those line item has been taken back from here to the cleared items. So only 2 items are now left as open item, that is as the pending items, because these are the invoices against which the payment is still pending. So now suppose I want to see what are those transactions which I have made the clearing of. We have discussed that earlier. Even you can go back and you can go to this cleared item and you can put the date range for which you want to have a look. If you don't put the date range, it will show you for whatever the clearing activities have taken back in the past. It will show you all the data. So if I want to see only for today, I need to put the date of today 13 to 13, and I can execute this report. So this will show me what are the clearing activities which has been done as on today. So executed, you can see that these are the documents which have been cleared against the pending invoice or pending transactions. So this is how you process your down payment request. So what we did is we seen that how a down payment request can be created, and after that how the payment can be done on the basis of the request, and the whole process of booking invoices, making payments, and then clearing those all transactions with the transaction FDAS 44, and FDAS 54 is to converting a special GL transaction to a normal transaction. And all those changes have been done and constantly reviewed with the vendor line item display, that how the vendor ledger kept on changing with each and every transactions. So that is what you need to understand. What impact does each and every transaction have on the vendor ledger account, that is FBL1N. So that is what is done how in the down payment request. Now the next we will be moving is the down payment without any request. So now moving to the second case, that is making advance payment to the vendor without creating any request. Now this is more or less very much similar to what we did with request. Just the common difference between these two is that in case of request we used to execute one extra transaction, that is the first one, FDAS 47. and while processing F-48 we need to select that request, and then we have to process the down payment. So that is what will not be done for a normal down payment without any request. So let's see how we will be doing the down payment without any request. So without any request, you will exclude the very first transaction, and the rest of the transactions will remain as it is, and there is no change. So let's move on. Without request, first we will be processing a down payment. So a direct payment, advance payment can be made to the vendors. So before starting again, we can go to FBL 1N and we can check with the vendor that is there any balance in that or not. So now I'm executing this particular, selecting a special GL indicator as well. Execute this report, and you can see that in the report there is only these two transactions which are pending, $1,000 and $108. Both are invoices which are pending for payment. So now on this we will proceed with making a down payment to the vendor. So let's open a new screen for the next transaction. A maximum of 6 screens you can have at one go, and you can work on multiple 6 different screens. So the very first transaction from for the down payment is F-48. So we'll be moving to F-48. F-48, enter, select the date, then rest of the things you need to take care that the company, currency, everything is fine. You need to select the vendor, you need to select the special GL indicator as C, but in case you have multiple indicators, like for capital vendor there could be a different indicator, for normal revenue vendor there could be different, for any other category if you want you can have a different indicator as well. So you can have different indicators, and you need to decide, the business need to decide with which indicator they want to process the down payment depending upon the kind of purchases they are making. Now selecting the bank, the business area, and then the amount. Now how much amount do you want to make down payment of? Like suppose I take the down payment as $30,000. Now in the same way you can go below and you can fill the text as well. So I can write it over here as normal advance payment to vendor. And now once you have done this, the same thing we did when we processed F-48 at the time of down payment with request. So at that point of time we selected at this request and we clicked in this request and we selected the request from this tab. But right now we will not be taking this request anymore because we are not processing the down payment with request. So when you process with request, then you need to go to this request and you need to select that request also. But right now we are not moving with any request, we are making a normal advance payment without any request from any of the departments or anywhere. So this is what you need to fill on the screen, and once you fill this is all, you need to press enter on the screen. And when you enter on the screen, you can see a new, it would take you to a new screen where you need to select the credit item, that is you need to again put the amount, then you need to put the business area, and then you can put the text on below. So this is what you need to fill. Two screens you need to fill, one is for debit and one is for credit. Now once you did these two things, then you can go to document and you can simulate your document. So the document simulated says that the bank is credited and the TCS, that is the vendor, has been debited with $30,000, and if you find that the document is correct, okay, then you can go for this post option and you can click onto the post button and the document will get posted. So you can see over here again the indicator special GL indicator C is reflected to you, because at the previous screen we selected the special GL indicator as C. So this is okay. We can go to this post option and the document will get posted for the vendor. So this is the document which has been generated and which says that the advance payment to the vendor has been done. So now let's move and check the vendor ledger account. Now you need to refresh from this list, and when you refresh it, then you can see that the documents will get updated over here on the screen. So click on the refresh button and you can see now the document with $30,000 has been updated, and you can see this is a special GL indicator field in which the indicator C has been updated over here. So this is how the down payment can be done to a vendor, and rest of all the things are as same as we did when we created request. So now you can go for creating the invoice, and then if there is any remaining payment is there, then you can go for making the remaining payment balance to the vendor. Suppose I made a down payment of $30,000 and it is 100% advanced against the PO. In that case, the invoice can be booked and then the payment can be done, or you can say that if the payment is not possible, then the transactions can be cleared off against each other. So let's move on and take a scenario like this is 100% down payment against the PO or against the goods. So in that case, now we will book the invoice of $30,000. So we'll move to run the transaction code for vendor invoice, that is /n FB6060. Sorry, /n FB60. Enter, and you can see now over here you need to select the vendor date. In the reference, you need to take the invoice number. Then you need to select the amount over here. So 30,000, as the 30,000 is the advance payment which has been done. You can write the text what you want over here, and you need to select a GL account which needs to be debited against the vendor. Suppose I take it this GL, which is a purchase account, or accordingly you can change your GL whichever you want to debit with. 30,000. Now moving next is your business area. Now in this case I am not taking any text code as of now. We will be processing this invoice. Now we can go to simulate, and when you simulate the transaction, you can see that the pop-up has been generated by the system. It says $30,000 advance to capital vendor. So whenever there is any advance payment done to the vendor on the basis of the indicator, the system automatically shows you the informations that there is a down payment by the vendor through its ledger account. So now you can click on to enter. So there is a warning message. You can enter on the keyboard and it will take you to the next. So this is the invoice which has been generated as a performer, as a preview, and if you find it okay, then you can go to the post button and you can post the invoice. So the invoice document number has been generated now. Now let's move again and see the vendor line item or the vendor ledger. So again you need to go to the list and you need to refresh the transaction. So once we refresh, you can see again now that the vendor invoice has been updated in the ledger account. So now there is an advance payment of 30,000 and there is an invoice of 30,000. Means the transaction is nearly complete, but yet these two line items are reflecting as open item. So we need to clear these two line items against each other. So how can we do that? Vendor clearing is with f-44. So we need to go to the transaction /n f-4444, and now over here you need to select the vendor code. In account field you need to select the special jewel indicator, that is C, and you can go to this process open item. So it will select all the line items which are pending as of now in the vendor ledger account, and in this the line items which you thinks that are ready for clearing for completion, that the transaction has been completed, you can select that, and the rest of them you can deselect. You can see the assigned amount is this much from after selecting these all. So I'm deselecting this $1000, I'm deselecting this $108. So now there is a 30,000 plus item and there is a 30,000 minus item. Against each other they have been knocked off, so the balance becomes 0. So this is how the clearing is done. You need to select the plus and the minus, and both should be always equal to 0, so that a debit and a credit entry could be made by the system. So now moving on to simulate the document. Simulate. So you can see the document have been generated. This is a document generated just to get the line items cleared from the vendor ledger account. So now you can go and you can post the transaction, and now a document has been generated for clearing of the vendor ledger account. So once the document has been generated, you can display the document with FB03 as you already know. And now you can go to the vendor ledger and you can again refresh the vendor so as to get the ledger account updated. There are two ways to update this ledger account. One is you can refresh with the field over here, with the options over here, or you can go back and you can execute the report again. So if I execute the report again, you will see the changes. So it shows that the vendor's line item of advance against the invoice have been cleared. So this is how the clearing of vendor is done, and this is how the down payment is processed. So the rest of the report FK10N you can use for displaying the balance, which we have even seen when we did AP accounts payable /n FK10N. You need to select the vendor, the company code, and the fiscal year. Now you can go to execute. So you can see the balance over here in the 8th period has been reflected over here to you. The balance is 1108, and the same balance you will find in this particular report, because the closing balance should always match. So in the 8th period the balance is this. This is your net balance. So this is how this report works, and this is all about the down payment of vendor. So we have completed the vendor down payment, how you can make the advance to the vendor, and even the whole other transactions. So you can try that again in your system and you can practice it. We'll see you in the next training session with customer down payment. Thank you.